So it's another beautiful day on the Battle for Azeroth beta. And today we're taking a more in-depth look at the new Azerite system. So I'll be going over everything from the Heart of Azeroth, Azerite power, Azerite armors, the different Azerite tiers, how to farm it all, to my thoughts on the Azerite system, how it plays and how it works. Starting off with the bread and butter, our neck, the equivalent to our old artifact weapons, the Heart of Azeroth. It's similar but not the same. So the Heart of Azeroth, this is where it all begins. We acquired this at the very start of the expansion through a series of quests. And this will be with us for the entire expansion. This neck is what gives us our newfound power in Battle for Azeroth, and it fuels a lot of the new game mechanics, or gear mechanics if you will. And just like our old artifact weapons, this neck is something that will continuously grow in power in form of levels. The higher the level, the higher the stats on it. But apart from getting more stats, the neck unlocks powerful traits on a select few items, which I will go over a bit later. So unlike the artifact weapons, the traits you unlock aren't from your neck itself, but from Azerite armor. And for the better part, this is a good change. It means we don't have to level up 3 separate items if we want to play multiple specs, we just need to level our neck. The Heart of Azeroth will continuously grow in power whenever we do any content related to the new expansion, just like our old weapons, be it dailies, dungeons, raids, or some of the new content like island expeditions. And to level it up, you need Azerite power, which is totally not artifact power. So let's take a look at Azerite power. Azerite power is the lifeblood of your neck. For any of you who played Legion, this system won't be anything new. As I previously stated, doing any BFA content will grant you Azerite power. The only change that they've made to this, which is an awesome change in my opinion, is that we don't need to pick it up or use it. We're automatically given the AP straight into our Heart of Azeroth. So no need to run around with your bags full of AP tokens or using weak auras to tell us if we've missed a token that's hiding in the deep corner of your bags. It's all automatic. So as I was saying earlier, why we're leveling this neck is for 2 reasons. The first one being the higher the level, the more stats you get from your neck. But the big one is the Azerite armor and the Azerite traits in those pieces. There's 3 slots where you can equip Azerite armor, and those are head, shoulders, and chest. And you can acquire Azerite gear from almost any normal gear source, be it quests, dungeons, raids, or PvP. The only place where you'd think you can get it, but you can't, then that's Mythic Plus. Regular dungeons have them, but Mythic Plus does not. However, the Mythic Plus chest you get from completing a dungeon have a very high chance of giving you a piece of Azerite armor. I assume this is because Blizzard does not want us to farm Mythic Plus until our eyes bleed, which we will be doing anyways, so... But on that note, Azerite armor cannot war or TITANFORGE, nor roll with tertiary stats like speed, leech, avoidance. They only come with stamina and primary stats, strength, agility, and intellect, so no need to look for certain pieces that has the right stats, they all do. And this for me is just awesome. It takes away the RNG part of getting the best Azerite gear. The only way to get the best gear is to do the hardest content, be it Mythic Plus, raids, or high-end PvP. No more maxed out looking for raid heroes, at least not in Azerite armor. So what makes them so special? Well, it's the traits, and here's where it gets a bit tricky and a lot more interesting. The higher the item level on your Azerite armor, the higher level your neck needs to be. And this is because every item have a set amount of traits on it in the form of tiers, if you will. Every tier requires a set amount of level on your neck to be able to use it. If we take my head for example, I need level 16 for the first tier, 19 for the second, 22 for the third, and 25 for the last one. So at the moment I cannot use any of those traits, and therefore my head is just a head. Nothing fancy about it. But if I were to grind a bit, it would suddenly become very powerful. Any item above 340 eye level, which is epic, will have 4 tiers on it, and if it's below that, it will only have 3 tiers. So let's take a look at the different tiers, shall we? So the very first tier on any Azerite piece will have 1 trait per spec and 1 flavor trait. You can only choose between the trait that you're spec'd into and the flavor trait. So you can't be wholly spec'd and pick the protection trait. So taking my head again as an example, for protection I can get Inner Light. When Shield of the Righteous expire, I gain 1028 block and deal 822 holy damage to all attackers for 4 seconds. It is a massive increase in block, and it does a fair bit of damage as well. For Retribution I could go Relentless Inquisitor. Spending holy power grants you 8 haste for 10 seconds per power spent. Stacks up to 20 times, so it's just a huge chunk of haste, which is awesome. And for holy I could go Moment of Compassion. Your Flash of Light heals for an additional 328 when cast on a target affected by your Beacon of Light. Again, nothing groundbreaking, but a nice healing bonus. And the last one is the flavor trait, Retaliatory Fury. Your spells and abilities have a chance to grant you 247 mastery and absorb 3288 damage for 10 seconds. Attacking a member of the opposite faction is more likely to activate this. So to give you an idea of what a flavor trait is, it's basically based on where you got it from. This head is from a Warfront where the gear you get is PvP gear, hence the flavor trait gives me something that works better in a PvP environment. And there's all sorts of different kind of flavor traits out there. If you go for the engineering head, the flavor traits will be that of the engineering nature, mimicking our old gadgets and tinkers and stuff with robots. It's just all fun and good. Or if you get them from the new Haunted Mansion dungeon, it'll be more of a ghost theme on them, and so on and so forth. They might not always be the best traits, but they're a lot of fun to play around with at least. And it keeps it a bit fresh, and some of them are really, really good. There's even a few flavor traits that only works in the zone you got them from, like the Uldir Azerite gear. To get the full effect from the Uldir gear, you need to be in Uldir. Moving on, the second row depends on if you have an item above 340 eye level or not, but let's assume you do. Here we have role enhancing traits. They will either empower your damage, healing, or defensive capabilities. However, these are not role specific, so you can spec into either one of them regardless of your current spec. And they are not limited to just pure healing or damage, it can be a mix of them. So let's use my shoulders as an example here. First out we have Gut Ripper, a damage increasing trait. Your damaging abilities have a chance to deal 1851 physical damage to the target, and it occurs more often against targets below 30% health, so just a flat damage increase and a bit of an execute. Next out is Concentrated Mending. Your healing effects have a chance to grant the target 74 additional healing every 2 seconds for 12 seconds, and this doubles every 2 seconds, again just a flat healing increase. And Shimmering Haven. Taking damage has a chance to create an upwelling of Azerite beneath your feet, increasing your health by 10,166 and your armor by 413 while you stand in it. Lasts for 10 seconds, so just a nice added defensive bonus. And again, there's tons and tons of different traits out there, so not limited to these 3. And as I said, as a tank I can still go for the DPS trait Gut Ripper or the healing one if I'd like. Moving on, now we have the third row or the second row if your item is below 340. And these are mostly defensive traits, nothing huge really, like Gem Hide. When dealt damage greater than 10% of your max HP, you gain 87 avoidance and 628 armor for 10 seconds, and it's the same for every spec. Or you could get Self-Reliance. While no enemies are within 20 yards, you heal for 785 every 3 seconds. So just some nice defensive bonuses here. And the last row is simply an item level increase for your Azerite armor. Azerite Empowered increases the item level of this item by 5. So yeah, there's a lot of different traits to be found out there and a lot of weird combos to be made. Few things to take note of: the Azerite gear is not RNG, they will always have the same traits. So if you get an Azerite chest piece from, say, the new raid Uldir, and then you get the same chest piece again, it will have the same traits on it, so no randomization on that part. And then there's an annoying part of it. When you choose a trait, you lock it in. You can unlock it by visiting an NPC, the Azerite Reforger. Pay him a bit of a gold, but I mean, it is a bit of a hassle if you went for, say, the protection trait. And then you respec to Retribution. You're stuck with the protection trait. You can't respec your item without visiting an NPC and giving it your hard-earned cash. Anyone remember going to your class trainer to respec? I remember going to him respecing. It was so much fun and it really didn't drain your bank at all. And the solution for this? Well, get ready to carry some extra Azerite pieces, depending on if you want more AoE damage, more crowd control, more burst, or to play a different spec. I hope Blizzard changes this to be more streamlined, but I wouldn't count on it. And a few notes on farming both the gear and the Azerite power. As I mentioned earlier, Azerite gear can be acquired from almost any BFA content. The only real difference is what traits are available. Some traits can only be found in the new raid Uldir, some traits can only be found in PvP gear. Which traits will be the best in the end largely depends on tuning, but knowing what traits you want and where they drop will help you out a lot at the start of the expansion. Most of the traits from dungeons and raids are out in the dungeon journals already, and all the traits can be found on sites like Wowhead. I suggest you do a little research if you want to be prepared for the start of the expansion grind. And a side note on the whole Azerite gear, they aren't tradable at all. If you acquire a piece of Azerite gear, you cannot trade it no matter what. It's yours, nobody can tell you what to do with it except yourself. And I guess this is a good thing and a bad thing. It's annoying that if you get a gear, you can't trade it to a friend who might need it and you don't, but at the same time, you can't be forced to trade it either. Because apparently that's all us raid leaders do. We force people to give away their hard-earned gear. Moving on. As for the Azerite power, the best way to farm it seems to be Island Expeditions and World Quest. You can also acquire a large chunk of Azerite by helping out with triggering a war front. You do this by turning in different kind of resources in, I believe it's your faction's base in Arathi Highlands where the war fronts take place. Doing so will grant you a sizable amount of Azerite, and dungeons give a lot less AP this time around, but obviously you can still grind it out in dungeons if you prefer that. And that's pretty much it for the new Azerite system. All in all, I've enjoyed trying it out, trying out different traits and combinations of them. It's been a fun feeling seeing an Azerite piece drop and to check out what the new traits might be. Granted, this was before everything was data mined and added to the dungeon journal, but still, it gives a sense of progression, and it shares similarities with our legendaries. Granted, not as big of an impact as legendaries, but enough to be noticeable. Some traits are just pure passive increases, and others have a more drastic impact to our overall gameplay. And seeing how this system is, I'd say, fairly new, I'm sure there's lots of crazy traits yet to be announced. And unlike the legendary system or artifact weapons, with the Azerite system, Blizzard will be able to add a lot more things at a faster pace, and at a larger quantity at any given time. Anytime we got a major release in Legion, there were like 2 legendaries added for each spec. This time around, I guarantee that you will be seeing lots more traits being added with every content patch. So I for one am looking forward to this, and I embrace it with open arms. Is it as good as it could be? Far from it, but I'd rather have this any day than the legendary grind at the start of Legion or the never ever ending AP grind in Maw of Souls. So do you guys have any thoughts on the new system? Let me know in the comments below. If you have any questions at all, make sure to hit me up in the comments. I try to answer any and all questions as well as I can. And as always, if you like these kind of videos, make sure to hit that subscribe button, leave me a like, and ring that notification bell and switch it to all. Thanks for watching, and I will see you next time.